Up, guys? So let's jump right into it. This week, Sandman. And for those who don't know, Sandman is a so let's jump back into it. One of the things that came out of Sandman's translation this past weekend or week was the fact that Oda did an interview with two editors, and it came up that he said the Straw Hat Grand Fleet would show up soon. Now, you know, with Oda, soon could be anywhere from a week, 2 weeks, a year, 2 years. So he basically said that they would show up soon in Wano. So that's a good thing because it somewhat gives Oda a time frame, and he can't just draw it out forever because we all know he's not going to draw Wano out forever. But back to the point, considering that the Straw Hat Grand Fleet is going to show up, let's break down some reasonings as into why they would be necessary and what could come from it. So, the first thing that I saw when I read this was the fact that, hey, I thought of what reasons could they be there. So, it's three things that came up to me. One, to move people around. I mean, let's be honest. In one of the latest chapters, Orochi went out of his way before we had the flashback. He went out of his way to destroy all modes of transportation. He destroyed the fleet of ships that Frankie made. He destroyed the Sunny. He destroyed the bridges. So that basically, even with traveling across the land, he made it difficult for them, and basically he tried to funnel them all through the capital. So with that, it also made it hard for them to funnel supplies and weapons. And you know, one of the biggest parts of war is supply and resupply, because you have to continue to make sure you take care of the troops. You run out of bullets, you need more bullets. Food, stuff like that, it becomes very necessary. Medical supplies, all of those things are necessary in a war to keep your people going and to sustain you through the duration of the war. So that's one thing that could make a lot of sense for the Straw Hat Grand Fleet to show up. And let's be honest, yes, Frankie was making a good amount of ships to carry, what he said, 1,000 to 10,000 people. That math is all over the place, but let's say it was 10,000 people. Well, we do know that one of the members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, Olympus, has a 56 ship fleet. He has an actual armada, and his armada is called the Yota Maria Grand Fleet. Again, it's 56 ships. That's 56 ships that could easily carry the entire army, as well as all the people that Straw Hat is already bringing with him from the Grand Fleet. Not only that, but now with those 56 ships, say some of them or a portion of them get destroyed, he has a way to enter and get to where he needs to get for the war and shuffle all his people back and forth. He also has something that I don't think Whitebeard had in Marineford, and that's a guaranteed exit. When Whitebeard coated his ships and he came up under the channel to attack Marineford, a lot of those ships were destroyed by Akainu. And the biggest thing I was thinking about in that war was, how is he going to escape? Yes, he had his other ships that really were part of members of his alliance that were out on the bay, that were basically outside of the Marineford outer walls. That, yeah, you could have got to. And you also had a couple people that were smart enough to use other means to make it easier for them to get to the front lines. Like, that's another thing. How did Shanks get in? Nobody even thought about that. They didn't show Shanks' ship as if it was coded. How did Shanks get in to Marineford? Did the gates of justice open for him? Did he control somebody to get through? I know Whitebeard basically, not Whitebeard, Blackbeard, one of his people controlled the people that controlled the gates, so they were able to get through multiple times. But that's just another thing to think about. How did Shanks get in? But he was able to get in. The issue with Luffy, back on task, the issue with Luffy is not a tactical person. He's a brawler. He's a just go in and fight type of person. So Luffy honestly is not going to be thinking about how do they leave? How do they exit this battle? And let's be honest, if this war is going to be bigger than Marineford, if it's going to dwarf Marineford, well, you have to think that the same amount of players are going to show up. So, yes, we're expecting because of plot armor that Luffy is going to win. But at what cost? Luffy's going to win. Okay, so that means Orochi gets taken out. I'll give you that. One of the Yonko fall. That's the big catch. Which one? And I don't see Big Mom. If Kaido falls, I don't see Big Mom cutting tail and running. For what? She came there for Straw Hat anyway. I don't see Big Mom leaving at all. And currently, it's going to be hard enough for them to take out Kaido. So who's going to be left once they use all their energy to take out Orochi and Kaido? Who's going to be left to repel and get rid of Big Mom? This is another reason why I see the Straw Hat Grand Fleet being essential. Because it gives them time. Yes, the biggest thing is just to free Wano from the tyranny of Orochi and Kaido. Big Mom's only there for Luffy. So if they take out Kaido, take out Orochi, Wano now belongs to Momonosuke again and his sister. Luffy could cut tail and leave, bail, go recover, get in his fleet, get in one of their ships, go to Elbaf, and recover. The reason why I think that's perfect plot setup is because Big Mom and Kaido both can't get taken down in Wano. I don't see it. I've been talking for a long time, especially on with a lot of the guys on the Tier 3 chat with King of Lightning, that it makes no sense for Big Mom and Kaido to be taken out in Wano. Like, we still have to deal with those flashbacks for Big Mom and Elbaf. So it would make perfect sense to me that once Kaido and Orochi are taken out, he leaves in the Grand Fleet and they go straight to Elbaf to recover. What will make them go to Elbaf? Well, one of the members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet is a giant. And he said, and already put it into focus, that he was going to go and get the giant fleet back together to terrorize the seas like they used to. Well, a lot of those members used to work for Buggy. And he already went and rounded those members up. We haven't seen anything since that part, but we do know he's already started to round those people up. So if they're already rounded up and he already has his ship, who's to say he didn't already head back to Elbaf to get more warriors? He rolls up, Big Mom's going to be triggered. He's going to know the story about Big Mom. In that flashback, in Big Mom's flashback, we saw him as a child. He was alive then when Big Mom went and had her temper tantrum and destroyed the elders and his village. So he's gonna be somebody that's gonna have a bone to pick with Big Mom. And the biggest thing to do, the smartest thing to do, would be to lure her behind right back to Elbaf, to where she's gonna have to deal with those flashbacks. And she's going to have to deal with what happened between her and Mother Caramel. And that's going to be the only place that I think that you're going to get Big Mom to actually break down and work on those mental issues that she has. Because, again, that giant that saw what happened when she ate Mother Caramel and all the other children is probably still alive and probably still on Elbaf. So that's great plot and a great transition to help Oda on his timeline of wrapping up One Piece within 5 years. The second thing is why the Straw Hat Grand Fleet to me makes so much sense and they're essential to coming is Big Mom's ship isn't spoken for. Big Mom's children aren't spoken for. Again, we're going out of our way worrying about who are the Straw Hats going to match up against. Who's going to fight who? Who's going to fight King, Queen, Jack? We haven't thought about Big Mom's sweet commander that she brought. She brought Smoothie. We haven't thought about who's going to fight Oven, who's going to fight Dafuku, who's going to fight all the people that she brought on her ship, the Big Mom Grand Chateau. That's Chateau. That's a big deal. Those are a lot of other decently strong combatants. They're not pushovers. They're not pushovers at all. I mean, keep in mind, we still got Brooke that can deal with the chess piece soldiers. That's easy. Brooke got them by herself, hands down. But you still got to deal with the rest of Big Mom's children. And the reason why I feel the Grand Fleet is a perfect role to step up, because when it comes to power level, all this time, Luffy's been in a new world. These guys have been in a new world too. They've been training, they've been fighting, they've been dealing with their own stuff. And we've been seeing some of their exploits on the front pages of the One Piece chapters, basically the cover pages. We've been seeing their exploits and what they've been doing. And the third reason, let's be honest, if we assume that the Sunny was destroyed, if we assume that Frankie still didn't deal with the previous damage from Whole Cake Island, Luffy needs a ship. And let's also just take it a step further. We've seen Shank's ship. We've seen Blackbeard's ship. We've seen, well, we haven't seen his head ship, but we've seen some of the ships are part of his armada. We haven't seen his head main ship yet, though. We've seen Big Mom's main ship. We've seen Whitebeard's main ship. So that's 3 Yonko whose ships we've seen. Shanks, Big Mom, and Whitebeard. All of them had massive ships. And they also had commanders under them who had subordinates under them. Luffy's reaching the stage. If Oda's going to make this convincing, Luffy's reaching the stage to where he has to act and be a true, legitimate Yonko. I'm going to keep harping on this. How can you consider Luffy a Yonko if his fleet and his leadership doesn't represent that? Yes, Luffy's carefree. Luffy's a just go about and do a type of person. Luffy doesn't think about the tactical aspects of war and battle or none of that. So he needs people behind him to do that for him. This is where I think this fleet comes in, and this is where I think Luffy's strongest 3 members, as well as Luffy's support members, and when I say support members, I mean people like Chopper, Robin, Nami, Brooke, and Frankie. Those are the support members to me. This is when they step up. And I believe that a combination of Frankie as well as Robin could tactically use and position the fleet, the Grand Fleet, for their best tactical advantage. Robin, because she already has all of the intel on the Grand Fleet and the people that they're fighting. Frankie, because let's just say, I don't think Frankie's a tactical genius, but I do think Frankie's good at noticing people's weaknesses and fighting styles and things that he can use to better his chances. Another person that I think could be an ace in the hole for that and be that person for Luffy is none other than Jinbei. Jinbei could be that for Luffy. And in doing so, and having those members a part of your fleet and having all of that command and control, you need a ship that represents that. Again, Big Mom does a lot of her command and control through her homies, which talk to her ship, which is a homie, which the homie on her hat sending knowledge to her ship can now communicate with her children to let them know, hey, this is what's going on with me. This is what I need you to do. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Whitebeard, he don't have to go nowhere. He doesn't have to pick up his snail and talk to another ship. He doesn't have to pick up anything. He can literally just look to his left, look to his right. All of his commanders are on his one ship. All of his commander's subordinates are there. And when they need to bring the entire fleet, he had his other ships that were probably stationed at his home country that he could easily go pick up, get his entire main crew and go. And show up to Marineford. Luffy doesn't have that. Luffy needs a Yonko ship that's worthy of a Yonko. And I believe that Frankie's going to go fish up the rest of the pieces of the Sunny and what's left of it, the Adam wood that's left, take that with him to Elbaf on the Yoda Maria Grand Fleet main ship, because that ship was huge. Take that with him to Elbaf, where, if I'm correct, Adam Wood originated from. Take that to Elbaf, get more of it with the Giant's blessings, and build Luffy a ship that's worthy of a Yonko. Build quarters and build sections of that ship that are worthy of Yonko commanders. It's time for Zoro, it's time for Sanji, it's time for Jinbei to step up and be legitimate Yonko commanders. Every real Yonko has Yonko commanders. Right now, Luffy is considered, quote unquote, by Big News Morgan, a Yonko. Are his subordinates considered Yonko commanders? Right now, I say no. At the end of Wano, they have to be. And you have to have a ship like you can't only just walk the walk and talk the talk. You got to look it too. He needs that ship that shows that sense of growth, that sense of, hey, my fleet has expanded. And another thing we need to talk about, Luffy in the beginning of One Piece stated that he wanted a crew of about 10 people. So far you got Frankie, Robin, Nami, Sanji, Zoro, Chopper, Brook, and Jinbei. That's 8 crew members currently. Carrot is still not considered an actual crew member. But currently Luffy has 8 crew members. If we are considering Carrot a crew member, alright, cool. Now you have 9 crew members. I don't think Luffy was considering himself as number 10. I still think they need one more person to make the fleet whole. And I think another reason why you need the Grand Fleet is because I think one of those people, if they're not going to come for the Grand Fleet, I think they're going to come from the storyline of once the Grand Fleet leaves Wano, en route to Elbaf or the next adventure, which again I'm gonna keep harping on Elbaf because I hope it's Elbaf. That's when they're gonna get that last person to round out the entire Grand Fleet and to round out Luffy's entire main crew, so he can set up his commanders and their subordinates. So it's easy for somebody who's not a tactical thinker like that and also not a great communicator to get his point across to all of his commanders and their subordinates at one point, one time. Again, guys, this is big news. The Straw Hat Grand Fleet showing up is big news. The last thing I want to drop on you guys is we have, even with the Straw Hat Grand Fleet showing up, we still have a huge lopsided battle. You still have 2 Yonko versus, to me, a Yonko commander. He's been training, he's been growing, honing his hockey to be that of a true, legitimate Yonko. But I still think, even with that growth, he's not going to be enough. The Straw Hat Grand Fleet is not going to be enough. All the Red Scabbards and everybody a part of the Alliance is not going to be enough, even if they do get defectors. So again, I personally believe that Blackbeard is not showing up, but I do believe that Shanks might end up showing up in this arc. And I think that's going to be one of the things going forward, because we still haven't said anything about Kid. Kid is still on Wano. We haven't seen anything from Kid since him and Luffy parted ways in the Udon Mines. Kid made it clear that his alliance and their big thought process was to attack and go after Shanks. It would be perfect for Shanks to show up to help even the odds as far as Luffy is concerned. Also, to help escort Luffy, because Luffy's going to be out of it. And who's to say that the world government's not going to show up after the fact and attempt to take out Luffy while he's down? And if an admiral or two show up, Luffy's going to be one of those big catalysts that you need to defend your fleet and those people against those admirals. Shanks, I do believe, will be Luffy's escort to Elbaf. And I believe he's going to help Luffy fight in this battle to at least even the odds. And I think he would be one of the people that keeps Big Mom at bay. Shanks is not one to kill haphazardly. But I do think it would be great to see him in action so we can flesh out some of his powers, flesh out a lot of his abilities and his crew's abilities. And I think another Yonko showing up would be the only way you balance out the power divide that Luffy and his alliance and fleet have versus two Yonko with their entire army. So, again, that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for the subscribers that I do have. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Jace.